Manti, I wondered if you could talk about the LDS community, what it's been like for you during your 4 years here and the support that you get from them.
Very supportive, just like I've known ever since I was young. Just obviously not in Hawaii, but it's very supportive and very helpful, and people of my word have just always been there for me, and I'm really fortunate to have that.
And I've got a lot of questions from the Utah media this week. They wonder, because of the LDS connection with the church, is this a emotional game for you, a bigger game for you?
No, for me it's just Game 7. I think when I've said it before, I think when you start to do things differently than you've done it in the past, bad things start to happen. So I've been there before. I've made the mistake of being overly excited for a game, and it hurt me. Fortunately for me, I've been there, done that, and so that's a mistake that won't happen again.
Manti, this game is sandwiched in between Stanford and Oklahoma, and a lot of people have called this a trap game. How do you avoid falling into that trap, so to speak?
I think it's only a trap game if you're dealing with a young team, a team that is not focused on one singular goal, and that's to take it day by day, week by week. And so our team has done a great job of just focusing on the next opponent. And we don't have Oklahoma this week. We don't have Stanford. We already played Stanford. So right now it's BYU, and that's all we're focused on. And until Sunday comes, we'll stop focusing on BYU. But until then, it's all BYU.
Just a quick question on the Stanford game. Seemed like it was, after rewatching it, more physical than any of the games you played up to this point. Did it feel that way to you on the field, or did it seem like a normal game in terms of physical?
I think I felt majority of that on Sunday when I woke up. Well, I could barely get up, but that's a good feeling. It shows that that was football, and it was a good game. It was a great game. It ended like a college football classic game. So I was just I'm grateful to be part of that, and glad that my body's starting to recover.
Being here at Notre Dame, there's the weight to win, the expectations to win. I know you still have a lot of wins you want to get and a lot of season left, but how does it feel just to have the excitement back here in South Bend at Notre Dame about the football team?
I think it's great. It's great to be 6-0 and to have that excitement on campus. But as we've talked as a team, we haven't done anything yet. It's like I said, we're 6-0. We're not 12-0 yet. So the next step is to be 7-0 and then 8-0 and so on and so forth. So we haven't done anything yet. We're going to continue to get better, and we're going to continue to work hard every day to make sure that when Saturdays come, that we're prepared.
And up here to your left, could you talk about the impact that guys like Louis Nix and Stephon Tuitt and Captain Lewis Moore have on you, how they impact your ability to do your job?
My success is has a direct correlation to how they do. If I have a strong defensive line in front of me, my job is 100 times easier. If I don't have a strong defensive line, it's very hard for a linebacker to do well. And so fortunately for me, I have 3 guys in front of me, including actually 6 guys, the guys who rotate in Sheldon and all those guys, Kona. I have those guys, and they're led by I think one of the best coaches, D-line coaches in the country, with Coach Elston. They have a lot of energy. They play with a lot of energy. They play with a lot of intensity, and offenses have to respect that. And when you have to respect the guys up front, the guys on the second level, like myself, it makes our job a lot easier.
What are you dealing with if they're not doing their job?
A lot of linemen, a lot of offensive linemen, and that's the linebacker's worst nightmare. Is when you have linemen in your face immediately, and guys just climbing up to you, and you have to fight 1-2 linemen. That's not fun.
How much of an opportunity, or how inclined are you to watch other college football games? There was one on last night. How often do you get an opportunity to watch?
To be honest with you, I haven't watched the full college game this year. I've watched highlights. I've watched quarters. But for me, as a college player, I try to stay away from that. My eyes are trained for BYU. My eyes are used to seeing BYU plays. My eyes are used to seeing what BYU runs out of certain formations. And so, I try to stay away from, just seeing things. I want to be focused. I want to be as focused as I can be. And, everybody does different things, but that's one thing that I try to avoid.
When you do catch a quarter here or a series there, do you watch it like a fan, or do you watch it like a linebacker?
I think, I can't avoid watching it like a linebacker. I tend to try and read the offense and anticipate what they're going to run from where I'm sitting. But when I'm not watching my game, I try to watch it as a fan. Enjoy it.
So, but you see technique. You see
Correct.
that sloppy tackling. Geez, he didn't do this the correct way.
Correct.
I know early in your career there was a lot of emphasis on coming to balance and flying to the football, but when you get there, be in a position to make a tackle. How do you improve that? How do you fly to the football, but yet be in a position to make a tackle?
It's all about what the opportunity that if it presents itself. There's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for everything. It all depends. How big the hole is, where you are on the field. If you're in open field, obviously you don't want to try and take the guy, try and really hit the guy hard. You want to just get the guy to the ground. But if it's a small window and you think you can, make a run for it, then go ahead. But it's a field thing.
Last thing, different topic, and I'm not sure that we've addressed this, but Coach Kelly commented, I think, a couple weeks ago that all the walk-on players' names and get to know them. Why do you do that? Why is that important?
Well, it stems back to when I was young. I've never liked when people were alone. Just felt left out, because I know how that felt. I was always that kid that was left out, and I never wanted somebody to feel that way. I never wanted somebody eating by themselves. And so, as a walk-on, it's one thing to come in here as a freshman, a scholarship player. It's another thing to come in as a walk-on. And these guys, I think these guys on a weekly basis put in more work than we do. They're the show teams, and they're getting out and they're getting hit, and it's a hard job. They don't get any rest. So, they're part of my team. They're part of my family, and if you're part of my family, I'm gonna try and get to know you besides your name.
Manti, right here. How much energy does Cap bring to that defense on a weekly basis?
Cap brings a lot of energy. He brings some. He's funny, so he brings that type of energy, and then he's serious at the same time. So he brings a lot of energy, a lot of we, for the most part, we have a young line, but he's that guy who kind of leads them, shows them how to do things, and he's that guy that makes that group run. So Cap, there's a reason why he's a captain on our team.
When does that energy show up? When he brings you guys up before the game? I mean, if you had to point to one thing where he's really exemplifies that energy.
Cap, when he feels that there's not as much energy, he's that guy to step out in front and really get guys going. When we're in a huddle or something, he'll get guys going like that. When he makes a play, when others make a play. If you watch, every time somebody makes a play, you always will see 89 in there, congratulating his teammates. So he energized the groups and the group in so many ways.
This is kind of a weird one, but did you ever expect that you would get tweeted at by John Cena at some point in your career?
I didn't really know. I didn't know. I was working out, and then I came in, and Tyler Stockton was riding around in a not a golf cart, the little carts up and down, just playing around. And he was like, "Bro," he's like, "You're an American hero." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "And you tell me John Cena tweeted at you," and I immediately sprinted into the locker room to check it out.
What do you know about him?
I know a lot about it. I mean, obviously, wrestling and WWE. I was a big WWE fan when I was little. The Rock's my favorite. Obviously, he was my favorite wrestler, and Goldberg. But I know a lot about it.
Manti.
Can you talk a little bit about, I know you're on the opposite side of the ball, but Tyler Eifert, I think he's known as kind of a quiet guy. How does he lead? How do you see him as a leader?
Eif is one of those guys that he's very dependable. He's very quiet. He's not a me player. He's not a selfish player. Obviously, Eif is the best tight end in college football, and he has the kind of receptions and numbers that he would like. But you never would see Tyler complaining. As long as we're winning, he's happy. Eif leads by example. He leads by his work ethic and just really doing his best to ensure that our team wins.
Manti, can you just talk about the continued success of this defense and the touchdown streak, and how much pride at this point you guys take into the fact that you haven't given up a touchdowns in a month?
We try to. Our main thing is dominating. As a defense, we want to dominate. We want to dominate opponents, and the best way to do that is to keep the points down. And along the way of doing that, we've managed to, limit those points and limit the touchdowns. So, like I said before, we're 6-0, and we still have half a season to play. So, from that perspective, we haven't done anything yet. After the 12th game, you can ask me that question, and I can tell you, how much pride we have in that. But we're going to continue to work hard and continue to correct the mistakes we've made. We haven't let up a touchdown in a month, true, but we've also made a lot of mistakes, and mistakes that can be corrected, and mistakes that we will correct, and hopefully, continue to dominate.
Coach Kelly said yesterday that you're the best leader he's had in 22 years. How much of a compliment is that for you?
That's a big compliment, especially from Coach Kelly. Man, I just try to instill love. I think whenever you have, as a leader, as a captain, whenever you have guys around you that love you and that respect you and that will do anything for you, that's when you'll experience a lot of success. And I think that as a team we've grown that mentality here, is that we don't play for ourselves. We play for the guy next to us, and we play for this university, and we play for our families and our fans. And so we don't play for ourselves, and I think that's been the strength of this team.
How important is a reliable guy like Dan Fox to this defense, knowing you can kind of count on him to do the job right?
Yeah, definitely. He's very important. Dan is somebody who consistently works hard. He doesn't like to make a mistake. He's always trying to get better. And with him and Carlo there, two really good linebackers who are competing, every day and getting each other better. That will position is is a lot better than where it was last year, and it's going to continue to get better because we have two guys there who really love to play this game and who really love to try and be the best at it.
Let's see if we have any questions from any of the callers.
Please press the star and one if you'd like to ask a question from the phones. Again, press star and one. We do have one question in the phone queue. We can go to the site. Jay Drew from the Salt Lake Tribune. Your line is open.
Hey, Manti, just wondering if you could recollect your experience when BYU was recruiting you, and I know they were kind of down to your final three. What ultimately made you look in a different direction? Can you take us through that?
I prayed about it, and everything pointed towards Notre Dame, and obviously, here at Notre Dame is where I came because I felt that I was directed to come here.
Do you, because of your ties, through the church to BYU, do you find yourself following them at all, or keeping track of any of the players there, anything like that?
No, I know a lot of players on the team. My cousin, one of my cousins plays for them, and a couple of my friends. But that's all I really know about BYU.
Any more questions from the callers?
Again, if you'd like to ask a phone question, press the star and one. Showing no further questions from the phones.
You've talked a lot about, just focusing day by day, week by week on BYU, but it's so easy to get distracted these days by anything, Twitter, Facebook, schoolwork. If you can just talk, what is it inside of you that allows you to be able to kind of zone in like that?
Everybody, there are guys who love to win. But for me, my hate to lose is greater than my love to win. I hate losing, and that's what drives me. Obviously, I haven't won a lot in my life, and that's not a feeling that I really enjoy. And so, if I experience that, and I don't want to experience it, as much. And so, we're in a situation here, and in a position as a team to really, avoid that. And so, I'm going to try and do whatever I can to avoid that feeling of walking out of any stadium with that feeling. I'd rather be the guy who learns that lesson from watching other teams lose than experience it myself. And so that's what drives me.
And how do you take that a step further and instill that in your team and, be a leader to have everyone kind of be able to focus in like that?
I think it's a process. It's a process. Everybody is different, but I think for the most part our guys understand that we don't want to be that team that has to learn the hard way. We don't want to have to be that team that's on ESPN or any big headlines of a big upset. We don't want to be that team, and I think those teams are created because they forget how they got here. They forget the hard work, and it's easy to do that. It's easy to forget what got you here through all the attention and all the excitement that's around, and just the pressures of being in college football. But I think our team and our coaches, we really keep each other level-headed and keep each other going. And so it's definitely difficult, but I think we have a lot of guys who, for the most part, believe in the same thing.
And regarding Dan Fox, you said the position is better. Coach Kelly mentioned he's more physical, better understanding of the defense. Playing next to him, what are the tangible things you see him being better at?
Just he doesn't. You see Dan Fox play, and he doesn't hesitate. He's a lot more confident in his ability to make plays. He's a lot more comfortable in the scheme. He knows what to do. He knows what the guy next to him is doing, and he knows where I'm going to be. And so, when you know that, when you know where your teammates are going to be, it allows you to play a lot faster. And so you combine that with confidence, you'll get Dan Fox's progression and throughout his career here at Notre Dame, and he's going to continue to get better.